There's this massive challenge that families and support systems face literally every single day. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack in today's Explainer. We're looking at how to take these isolated clinical therapies and actually transform them into a cohesive, empowering life plan. We're talking about real family empowerment. We're talking about real functional life skills. So let's just dive right into it.
Here is the absolute million-dollar question. What happens when the therapy session ends, but real life just keeps going? I mean, for anyone who has navigated the world of specialized support, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. There is this very real, tangible friction that families feel when they try to take these incredibly strict, structured clinical schedules and somehow integrate them into messy, unpredictable, everyday family routines. Because let's be honest, life doesn't happen in a sterile clinic room for 45 minutes on a Tuesday, right? It happens everywhere, all the time.
And getting to the heart of that friction, we have to look at how these specialized therapies typically operate. Things like ABA, occupational, physical, and speech therapy, they provide absolute, indispensable clinical value. We 100% need them. But they usually happen in total isolation. Families end up investing massive amounts of time just managing appointments across all these separate locations. So these incredibly valuable services get confined to strict clinical schedules. And ultimately, therapy just becomes this extra demanding part of the week, rather than an integrated part of actual lived routines.
Let's anchor this in reality for a second. Think about a simple trip to the grocery store. Actually, anyone with kids knows it's never just a trip, right? It's practically an extreme sport of dodging shopping carts and managing sensory overload. But just the act of reaching for a box of cereal demands all of those isolated clinical skills simultaneously. Think about it. Physical therapy? You need that for reaching and navigating the aisle. Occupational therapy manages the overwhelming sensory environment of a busy store. Speech therapy is actively working when reading the label and picking a favorite. And applied behavior analysis is there to execute the whole sequence of choosing and then paying. Real-life skills do not exist in silos. But single-discipline therapies kind of lack a unified practical plan for these exact everyday moments.
Okay, moving into Section 1, Bridging Clinic and Life. So to fix this friction, we definitely aren't talking about tossing out vital professional therapies, not at all. Instead, imagine a braided rope. It's a bridge between the steep cliff edge of clinical therapy and the solid ground of daily life. This life skills program acts as that necessary family-centered supplement. It takes all those loose, separate threads of multidisciplinary ideas and it weaves them together into a single, strong, practical plan based on real routines. It's literally the connective tissue that makes all that hard clinical work actually functional.
Which brings us to a really crucial point, defining what we actually mean when we say functional practice. It is exactly the intersection of targeted therapy goals and lived family routines. Because students don't just need rote repetition in a vacuum. They absolutely need robust opportunities to use and strengthen their skills exactly where daily life happens. Choosing food at the store, following a morning routine, getting involved in community activities, that is where real, lasting growth takes root.
This brings us to Section 2, a necessary paradigm shift.
Because making this work requires a completely different way of thinking. Both models share the same ultimate goal, sure, but they take vastly different paths to get there. If you look at the traditional clinical model, it relies super heavily on scheduled sessions. The parent is often just sitting there observing or just playing chauffeur, and goals are mostly selected by clinicians. The whole focus is on clinical perfection in a silo. But when we shift over to the Summer Skills Project model, we move the setting straight into natural daily routines. The parent becomes an active facilitator. The goals, they actually originate from student-preferred choice-driven activities. The whole focus shifts to meaningful participation and independence through an integrated approach. It's warmer, it's so much more active, and it fully centers the family.
And this shift deliberately changes what we're aiming for. It's all about tipping the scales. Meaningful participation completely outweighs clinical perfection here. The objective isn't just treatment or getting the perfect form on a task. The true metrics of success in this model: active family involvement, consistent student choice, and gradual functional independence. That is what truly carries weight and changes a person's life.
Up next is Section 3, the power of choice.
I cannot overstate this. Choice is the absolute core engine of this entire system. As individuals grow, they desperately need opportunities to plan activities and actually participate in decisions about their own lives. Moving from adult-directed goals all the way over to student-directed preferences does something genuinely magical. It naturally unlocks these massive developmental leaps. Specifically, it unlocks intrinsic motivation, true self-advocacy, and real-world problem-solving. I mean, think about yourself. When you choose what you want to do, you're instantly way more invested in figuring out how to do it, right?
I really want to emphasize this boldly. Choice-making is not a small skill. It is the catalyst. It is literally everything. We have to first deeply understand what the student genuinely enjoys to fuel that cycle of communication, self-advocacy, and eventual independence. Honestly, if we don't start with what they want, the rest of the plan is just not going to stick.
Choice creates this incredible flywheel effect for independence. It starts simply. The student makes a choice, focusing on something they actually enjoy or want to achieve. That immediately sparks increased engagement and motivation. And because they're motivated, they willingly engage in repeated practice during their meaningful routines. That functional, repeated practice directly builds their confidence in communication skills, which, guess what, empowers them to make their next choice. The flywheel just spins faster and faster, building this unstoppable momentum.
Let's look at Section 4, the methodology in action.
So, how do families and community volunteers actually pull this off day to day? It boils down to a continuous cycle of 4 really clear steps. Step 1. Choose meaningful goals. Like we just talked about, this has to be strictly based on student preference and enjoyment. Step 2. Break down the steps. You just deconstruct the routine into small, totally manageable practice chunks. Step 3. Apply simple supports. Use clear, practical prompts right there in the natural environment. And finally, Step 4. Celebrate progress. Reinforce those functional victories in real, daily life. It's a beautifully simple cycle, but it is incredibly effective when you stick to it.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate vision.
If we zoom all the way out to look at the holistic, long-term impact, we're really looking at an entire ecosystem of independence. This program is the cohesive engine making those existing therapy efforts practical and visible out in the real world. Think of it in layers. The foundation is professional therapies. Within that, you have active family involvement facilitating everything. The powerful engine driving it all is student choice. And sitting right there in the very center, the heart of it all, meaningful daily life. Every single layer exists to support that center.
Because ultimately, functional skills are just the foundation. The true goal here is leveraging those skills to unlock broader participation, build unshakable confidence, provide daily enrichment, and just totally elevate the overall quality of life. Whether it's successfully bagging and carrying your own groceries or participating in a community event, it's all about gradual independence, built one meaningful routine at a time. We aren't looking for overnight miracles, we're looking for the beauty of integrated daily progress.
So, I want to leave you with a thought to carry with you today. If clinical therapies build the foundation, what meaningful routine will you choose to weave together next? Whether you're a parent, a practitioner, or just someone seeking more independence in your own life, you have the power to take those isolated threads and braid them into something strong, functional, and truly yours. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep weaving those routines, and I will catch you next time.